This is Sister Mary again, trying to continue the series of talk that I am giving on the doctrine of Saint Teresa of Jesus and Saint John of the Cross in their contemplative prayer. Now, I was talking about the first level of prayer. People who are in the first level, as I said, are people who are already in the state of grace. But according to Saint Teresa, one foot is inside, another foot is outside. Meaning to say, they are people who can commit sin very, very easily. And I've been giving you examples the last time I was here. Now, let me talk about the second level. The second level are people who are already inside the castle, meaning to say that they are in the state of grace, but they are still very, very weak because of their habits of sin. However, they are persons who already knew that they are weak, and many of them would like to accept help from other people. Now, these are the people, for example, in our work now with priests, they are people who accept that we need help. And so they go to program that will help them. And then these are also people, for example, who are drug addicts, and they already go to the rehabilitation centers because they cannot help themselves. However, this is a very, very enlightening thing because people at this stage are already humble. They really know that without the help of other people, they cannot really leave their sin. So they look for means and ways how they are able to avoid sin. Now, many of our people in the drug addiction centers, these are the people, although at the beginning they do not accept it, and they are sent, because usually these people are addictive. They cannot leave their sin. For example, sin against the sixth commandment. There are many, many things that we become addicted to drugs and all of this. Now, you know, in my experience, I used to give talks in Zamboanga on contemplative prayer. And then after a while, there were a group of men who attended my talks, and then, as usual, I lead them to prayer. And then after some time, they came back to me and they said, "Sister, you know, we would like to come here because we are taking, what is this? They are drinking liquor. They are addicted to this, drinking." And then I said, "But what will you do here? Why will you come here?" "No, we would like to come here in order to meditate." And so I asked them, "Why will you come here when I know I cannot understand your problem? I'm not an addict of liquor." And then they said, "We like to come here because during the time that you lead us to meditation, we did not become drunk. We did not go into places where we are tempted to drink. So meditation helped." And so I started to have a drug addiction center. They call that rehabilitation center for drug addicts. And so I had several of them who came, and we really go into prayer. But I have noticed that many of them can be good for around 7 months. After the 7th month, many of them do not come back. Why? Because, you know, in this kind of addiction, whether it is drink or sexual addiction, or no matter what kind of addiction, usually they can abstain for some months, but around the 6th and the 7th month, for example, people who drink alcohol, only 1 drop of alcohol will lead them to sin. So I have noticed that many of them are very good until the 6th, the 7th month, and then they just disappear. And you know, you have to seek out for them because they are very ashamed to go back. And it has always been like that. However, there was one who did not anymore come back to Carmel for our meditation. And after some months, he came back. And he looked so well. And so I asked him, where have you been? And then he told me, Sister, you know, if I continue to live in Zamboanga, I will never be able to overcome my addiction. Because my friends will again bring me and I am too weak to resist. So he said, I decided to go to an island. It is a small island between Hulo and Zamboanga, and only the Muslims live there. And he said, I left my very good job in Zamboanga, and I stayed with them. And then he said, for some months now, I have not been, because you know, if they are real Muslims do not drink liquor, and they do not smoke. The real Muslims. And you know, I've come to realize the great sacrifice of this man. Imagine to leave his family, to leave his good work, just to be there in order to avoid his sin. So I became very interested with his prayer. And so I asked him, how do you pray? And then he said, Sister, for me, prayer is no longer a matter of time. I pray the whole day. He said, I am going with our Muslim friends to go fishing. And when I am at sea, I am in constant communication with God. I talk to Him about everything. And I've come to realize that this man is already a contemplative. He has reached the fourth mansion of Saint Teresa. He has gone through terrible sufferings. And then I begin to realize that people who are great sinners, if they are able to overcome it with humility, they do not anymore enter the third level, which I'm going to talk hopefully in the coming talks that I will give. They go straight to the fourth level. What is the fourth level? The fourth level is what we call really the real experience of God. We call that the contemplative state, or we call that a contemplation. Meaning to say that the life of the person now is really being guided by the Spirit. And so they did not pass the third level. The third level, I'm going to talk, hopefully I have time now, I can talk about it. But let me talk to you that with God, He has no, what is this, rules. He can bring us to great sanctity if we are only faithful and if we are only going to choose Him. So let me share with you several experiences about this. In one of my trips in America, I was in Canada. I went to New York. And I took the train. That is a 10-hour ride. But it's a beautiful ride because you are riding beside the Hudson River. And then I happened to talk with a young girl. She's a Scottish girl. And so we started to talk, and very nice. And then she said, she was asking me, Sister, where are you going? And I told her, you know, I'm going to several states. I'm going to New York. I'm going to New Jersey. I'm hopping from one state to the other. And then she said, Sister, you are traveling so much. What are you doing? Are you taking a vacation? And I said, no, I am not taking a vacation. I'm going around giving lectures. And then she got very interested and she said, what kind of lectures are you giving? Of course, I did not tell her I'm giving the lecture of St. Teresa and St. John of the Cross, because that will be the end of the story. I answered her in a way that she will get interested. I told her I am giving meditation. And so she got very interested. And she said, what kind of meditation? And so I explained to her. And I said, you know, in our younger, when we were little children, many of us have gone through sufferings because of our parents without their knowing it. So we become very insecure. Now, if we are insecure, we express those insecurity in our weaknesses, which the Catholic calls the 7 capital sin. For example, if I have been very insecure, I mentioned this already in my last talk, that if a person is very insecure, he can become sexually addicted, he can become addicted with liquor, he can become addicted with many, many things. Why? Because addiction is trying to fill up the emptiness of the human heart. But no matter what we will take, nothing can fill up the emptiness of the human heart. Because the human heart is made for God. So, therefore, the longings of the human heart is infinite. And only God can fill up that emptiness. No matter what we do, we cannot really become happy unless we allow God to enter into our hearts. So she became very, very interested, and she said, why is it that people are like that? So I gave her an example. Suppose if I am a little child and my mother does not give me the attention that I needed, then later on, it's either I become angry because I do not have, and so we need to go into meditation. We need to go into deeper levels of consciousness in order that we will be able to see what are our weaknesses. That's why Saint Teresa of Jesus said, in the castle where she saw, that beautiful castle, which is the image of the human soul, the human heart. She said there were many, many rooms, up, down, and then she said, each one of us needs to enter to every room. And then she explained why. Because we need to be able to know ourselves. We need to name what are our weaknesses. We need to know our sinfulness. Because without that, we will never be able to overcome them. And so, that's why I am teaching meditation. Because as you go deeper into your consciousness, then you will realize that, this is the reason why I'm always angry. It is because when I was a child, I was not treated well. So there is an anger in my heart. That is why we need to go into meditation. And this girl became very interested. And she said, sister, that is what they were giving us in the rehabilitation center for drug addiction. And I said, why are you a drug addict? She said, I am a recovering drug addict. And I said, how long have you been away from drugs? She said, around 3 to 5 years. And I said, why do you say that you are a recovering drug addict? Because you have been healed already. And then you know what she said? She said, no, we have never recovered. We have never been out of it. Because the moment the power beyond us let loose of us, we are back to our sinfulness. And I've come to realize that this person have already reached the 4th level because of her humility. She said, unless we are being held by a power beyond us, because in the drug addiction center, they do not mention about God. They only say a power beyond us. But it is the same. It is an experience of God. And then she said, unless that power beyond us holds us in His hands, we will go back to our addiction. And so I asked her, what is your idea about sex? And then she said, sister, before we go to sex, whenever we like and all of that, but now no, we don't anymore. Why? Because sex is only meaningful if it is done in the right way. And then she said, in fact, many of us have opted not to get married. in order to go around and to help other people who are like us. They have become missionaries. They want to share the graces that they receive. These are people in the 4th level. They did not pass the 3rd level. I'm going to explain to you what is the 3rd level later on, if I have time now, maybe in the next series of talk that I will give. Now, and then I asked her, and I said, what is your idea of for example, he said, what is your idea about money and about how all those things, sister, they will pass away. That is why most of us, you can see, we have only a little pack in our bags, because we believe that divine providence will give us. And so that's the reason why I had really the feeling that these people have reached the 4th level. Maybe we will give some time to reflect, and we will have a short break.